Okay, let's get started then. Welcome everybody to, what is this, the fourth Zoom meeting?
Third or fourth? Might be the third.
Fourth.
Is it?
Zoom.
All right, well, that's a full quarter of the year. So doing the Zoom meetings, third of the year. Well, let's, as is our tradition, we will start off by saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I love the background.
With a flag behind it.
Your flag's backwards, Brian.
Yeah.
Huh?
Your flag is backwards.
It is, not to me. All
Yeah.
right, here.
You gotta flip it.
Is that better?
No difference.
Let's see.
The
Yeah.
stars are on the right.
Yep.
Dennis.
There you go.
How
Dennis.
about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, because to me, it looks different than it does to you guys. So now to me, it looks backwards.
Okay.
So-
well,
Have to stand?
Dennis.
10 in front of it.
Okay, let's start here.
Do we have to stand?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they'll know we're not wearing pants.
Yeah, I'm going to sit.
Let's all stay set then.
Ew.
Salute.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag of the United
United
States
States of America.
and
And
To the republic for which it stands,
Sounds-
one
one
nation,
nation, under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's see. All right, which side is the toilet on here?
You're right.
Okay, I think that's wrong, but it's the only one I've got.
I say your own view is always a mirror image of what other people see.
Okay.
That's a miracle of
Well,
Zoom.
there's an option here. It says mirror my videos. So
Oh,
Sounds
I-
philosophical, Wayne.
okay, so it's on the right now?
Yep.
correct.
Okay, so now I'm looking at what you guys are looking at. All right. Let me see here. Let me find something more nicer there. All right. Anybody have any announcements or anything for the club? Hey, Stuart, I see you down there.
There's Michael.
Actually, I'm above you, at least. So my,
Hi, Joanne.
there you go.
Dennis is on too.
Miracles of Zoom.
Oh,
Well, let's see. Debbie, who to me is right here, she just got her general license a couple of days ago. And
Hoorah, hoorah.
Yeah.
guys at the Satellite Radio Club were nice enough to get things set up so she could, they did an exam just for her.
Cool.
And she passed, only missed one.
Yeah.
All right.
very impressive.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
So anyway, so this is our fourth meeting like this. Last weekend, we on Saturday, we opened the club station without a lot of fanfare or announcements, and we still had quite a few people drop by. It was nice to see everybody. We'll be doing it again tomorrow, and the only thing we want to make sure is everybody's wearing their mask, and we have some sanitizer down there so you can keep your hands clean. And as long as we try and maintain social distancing, I think we'll be good. If we get too many people, what we can do is if people want to bring down a lawn chair or folding chair or something like that, there's 2 spots down there at the Red Cross that are pretty nice under the trees that we can kind of sit around and talk and stuff. And other than that, it was a pretty nice, pretty good Saturday. Started off really slow. I think I was there for probably almost an hour before anybody showed up, but then by 12 o'clock we had probably 15 visitors. So it worked out really nicely.
But the donuts were in good shape.
Actually, I don't know what happened to them.
The rats got him.
I think they walked out on their own.
They might have.
And they took their house with them.
Oh,
Or did they?
Yeah, the refrigerator was completely empty. There was no
Oh.
donuts in there, nothing. I
Oh.
think Michael was down there and he evacuated the donuts.
Yeah.
You know anything
Later
about
that
that,
day.
Mike?
No, not at all.
Nothing? Huh.
Got
Seems
hungry.
awful fishy to me. I was kind of looking forward to it, but
Oh, they smelled fishy.
yeah.
Not how donuts are supposed to smell.
But the everything was in pretty good shape. We have a lot of stuff down there now for sale.
Ken just
Bruce Gordon
Oh, yeah.
Bill and Wayne have been cleaning out Bruce Gordon's stuff, and they brought a lot of goodies down to the club station for sale. We're getting them on the club swap net, and hope that the that some people will get some
There's Dave Hackman.
deals on things. Bruce had a lot of nice stuff, and if anybody needs a bus intercom, we are your source.
Yeah, not the short bus intercom, the long bus intercom.
Yeah, it's
Simon.
yeah, not even the short bus intercom, although we probably have one of those too. Anyway, there's a bunch of stuff that Bruce manufactured down there, and all kinds of things. So goodie boxes that are fun to look through, and he collected a lot of good stuff. Let's see what else is going on here. While we're all here, Wayne and Bill, have you guys figured out what the problem is with the 1.8 repeater?
Other than I haven't seen it in the last couple of weeks. If you mean the audio clipping out on PZ, I have not observed it, really since it kind of was brought up. I've been
Oh,
looking
it's
for
terrible. Yeah.
it. Is it back again?
Oh, it's really bad. Yeah. And it's not just PZ, it's anybody on 1.8. The Debbie, who's at the meeting here, and her husband, Glenn, they cut out too. They're in Buellton.
Okay.
Not as bad as PZ. PZ, for whatever reason, I don't know what he's using there, but he really causes it. But last
Too
night,
loud. Too loud and really high fidelity, not fidelity, just super shrill.
Yeah, it's really equalized toward the top end.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know why that would affect packet loss or whatever, but anyway, I'll look for it again. After it was brought to my attention, I was able to duplicate it once, but then after that, did not see it again. So
You know
I
what?
guess I'll have to listen more.
We had last night, we recorded the technical mentoring and Elmering net, and it's on the website. So you could hear, because at the beginning of it, Bob was on for quite a while, and I had to do a split here so that I could even hear him. I couldn't hear him on the TZ repeater at all. So I listened on Santa Ynez Peak, and then I talked on TZ.
There's San Francisco.
Attention, people of Earth.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, tonight we are going to have another presentation from Bill, W1UUQ.
Hey.
I'm looking for him here on my screen. Oh, there's Ken. Did
Yeah,
you get
Ken.
dinner last night, Ken?
I did.
Oh, good.
It's pretty
Oh.
late.
He looks
More
went
like
importantly,
to
did you hire the guy?
I went to a taco truck. You know what's funny, Brian, is the guy came in and he was great, but 30 minutes before he showed up, this guy I had interviewed last year came in with a resume who I really liked. So even though I interviewed this guy, I had the other guy in mind the whole time. So I called that guy tonight to see if he could interview. And then half hour after I called him, this kid came in and dropped off a resume who says that he doesn't have to go to college in September like the other two. So now I want to hire him. I've had 3 people in 24 hours and nobody in 3 months.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, they're all great. They're all great kids. They're all smart, and they all seem really capable, and they're all anxious, to work. And it's just like the whole world turned around in 24 hours.
Ken, what's the latest on the store moving?
The airport sent me a letter about a week ago saying that the second that the city releases the contingency on not being able to kick out tenants, that they're going to give me 30 days notice.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So that could go on for like a year, right?
You know what's funny is since they sent it, my assumption was that meant that they knew something was going to happen and that the city was about to say, okay, the COVID crisis is over and now you can kick people out again. But why else would they have sent it? But I don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
well, you know, the
Hey,
store
guys.
up
Hey, what's up, Doug?
shopping center's open, Van.
What's that, Rick?
The store at Magnolia Shopping Center where the subway used to be is open, available now.
Yeah, they got several open and available, but they still want, twice as much money as anybody else in town. Hey, Rick, check this out. Look at this. Oh, shoot. Here, hang on a second. Let me see if I can turn off. I want to show you something. I think everybody would get a kick out of it.
Pay attention, Dennis.
Is that your weather station?
No. Let's see. I'm trying to turn off my virtual background because it won't let me use the camera. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Is there any way to flip the camera? No, I guess I got to use this one. Can you guys see this? It's going the opposite of the way I want it to. It's very confusing.
Somewhat.
Doggone it. When I go left, it goes right. When I go right, it goes left.
It's a box.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'll just tell you what it says. It's from Newark Electronics in South Carolina, and it's to Mr. Rick Whitaker at 26 Castilian Drive. And it's dated October 17th, 1996.
Wow.
You got to clean that store.
Right on time.
Yeah, that's our our receiving dock at Raytheon.
Really?
I guess I.
So it's
that one, huh?
It's 50 pair flat ribbon cable rainbow. I just sold the last foot of it today. I thought you might like to know that.
So how much of that do I get?
Well, I don't know how it got in our store, Rick, but maybe I shouldn't be telling you we sold any of it. I'd probably get you and me in trouble.
I hear nothing, I see nothing.
Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. I was staring at the box trying to figure out where it came from. And the closer and closer I looked at it, I was like, hey, it says Whit. That's funny. That's Rick's last name. And then I saw R. Whitaker written on it. And then I looked even more closely and I saw Rick Whitaker, 562-4287.
That was my desk, yep.
I called it today, but you didn't answer.
No, I'm afraid they disconnected in 2017.
Oh, okay.
All right, well,
Thank you for sharing that.
let's get started. Bill, are you all ready?
Well, I think I am. I think it's going to be a problem getting me to get the PowerPoint. It's on my background here.
Shouldn't be on your background. It should be share screen.
Okay, I got to do shared screen.
Yeah, share
And
screen.
Where is
That's-
that again? Down
That's at the bottom. It's a little green box.
Oh, hell. Hang on a minute. Shared
Not
screen.
colorblind,
Okay.
are you, Bill?
All right, there it is. Okay, shared screen.
Match your shirt.
Okay, and then what else do I do?
Just
Then
click on it.
it'll give you a choice of what to share. You have to pick which window you want to share. So you have to find which one is your PowerPoint.
Oh, hell, hang on a minute. Okay, how am I going to see that? Huh. Well, I wouldn't know where to find it. It's,
Sounds like a bird.
oh, hell.
Call from trustee.
Let's see, I got shared screen,
Yeah.
but then I have to find
You can do the whole monitor if you want. That should be one.
then I go, okay. But then I have to find where it is,
You
right?
have to pick one of them. Before you did the share screen, you had to select one of the windows, I think.
You can just do
Where the hell-
desktop one.
where the hell did I put this damn, this PowerPoint? Oh, well, let me go back to,
Should be on your desktop.
oh, that's a disaster. Hang on here a minute. I got it down here and it says SYP, there's PowerPoint. I have it here on my screen, but I'm not able to bring it over. And I go shared screen. Why can't I get that?
Bill, when you click share screen, what comes up?
Okay. A little host, it says host, disable participant, shared, screening sharing or whatever. And I say, okay.
Oh, so you need to fix something, Levi.
But I do have it. I have the PowerPoint. It's open here. But I don't know where the, oh God, where the hell did I put it?
Yeah, well, Levi needs to do something because right now it's inhibiting you from sharing. So he's got some control, either he or Brian.
Wayne, why don't you try sharing your screen just to see if it's functioning normally for you?
I did, no, I get the same message.
What does it say?
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, let me see if I can, because I didn't mean to do that, but let's see.
They may default to that now as a security measure to reduce Zoom bombing.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, every time you use this now, it's different, right?
Yeah, roll out this week's software.
Sounds like Windows.
Well, they just updated the software a week ago.
Okay, try it now, Bill.
Okay, I'm going shared screen. Oh, okay. And I can see it up on the upper left here.
This white screen.
Oh, there it is right there. That would be my shared screen. So I have selected and I can share it.
There we go.
There you
You see an airplane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you see an airplane. Oh, wonderful. That's my airplane.
Looks like an L19.
It's an L19, all right. Well, let me go into what they call slideshow here. And I'll say from the current slide. Okay. So you should have a full screen, right?
Yep.
It says Army on it.
Hang on. Gotta go back. Okay, I want to explain a little bit about the airplane. By the way, welcome everybody. This airplane right here is owned by a club, was owned by a club member. And some of you may have known him. And he would come down to the club station, never say very much, but an excellent pilot. And he owned this one, he owned a helicopter, and he owned a twin engine. And we used to go flying up in this L-19. It's cherry right out of the factory, never been to Vietnam, but he owned it. And his name is John Roberts, KF6TRQ. And if anybody has ever known him, a great pilot, and miss him a lot. We used to go flying over Santa Barbara quite a bit. And this here, let's see, you are sharing, screen sharing, okay. This here is a picture of Santa Ynez Peak as we flew over it. Is this tower right here. Do you see my cursor, my pointer?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And just to explain the site a little bit, this is the GTE building right here. That's their stuff, state of California. And of course, right here, John Franklin's two towers right here. American Tower is here. Southern Pacific Railroad is right in here. These are two oil companies. And this here is what they call the Force Service Tower. And we have in the background here is Broadcast Peak. And that's a couple miles away, but that's in the picture too. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an outline. The road that you've been hearing about us talk about that's been all torn up is this road right here. It's a 1/4 mile. It has been somewhat repaved and we can now get back to the peak. Okay, the next slide right here, if you get to Santa Ynez Peak, pardon me, about 4 o'clock in the morning, you might catch the sun coming up from the east and you have a good shot there. Now, what we're going to be covering tonight is the construction period at Santa Ynez Peak to replace the former Forest Service tower, which was guyed, and it was 120 feet. And that took place between November 2011 and April 2012. Well, the purpose of this was the Forest Service throughout the United States had concluded that all towers on Forest Service lands that are guyed, the guys must come down, and they must be freestanding towers. Now, this came as a result of many bird encounters with the guy wires during migration periods and so forth. And I've never seen that happen at Santa Ynez Peak, but I'm not there during the nighttime if they collide or whatever. But anyway, that was the ruling. So all guide towers must come down, and poles. And of course, there were just poles all over the place with guys on them. So it's going to be replaced with a single 100-foot freestanding tower. Now, I was hearing about the freestanding tower for at least 15 years, and I didn't think it would ever happen. But it started to get traction, and I attended several meetings at the Forest Service. Well, what did we have? What did we eventually bargain for at the peak? Let's tell you how we got started. We got started there with a special use permit, and that was back 30 years ago, 1988, when the EC at the time, Don Fuller, was out of country, so I signed the document as assistant EC. So that goes back to 1988. That recently expired, the 30-year SUP, and we renewed it back about a month or two ago, and we sent it on to the district ranger, who was Poncho Smith. That is his name, Poncho. And I haven't received any answer back yet, just to give you some background. But I'm expecting to get an answer back with another 30-year SUP. Now, this time, of course, it is an ARES SBARC system. And the reason why I say that is that ARES is the operating entity, which is Amateur Radio Emergency Services, which is what they go for. But SBARC is the one who supports it and provides the funding for it. At the time when we started 30 years ago, we only had one system, 224.12. The reason why we had gone to 220 was because all of the 2-meter pairs were taken up by LA at that time. All the 440 pairs were taken up by people who had gone in for what they call paper pairs. So we had to migrate into 220. So that's how it all got started. The second system was 145.18, which Gene Nicholson apparently had at one time. And that was after Gene died. You see his, Gene Nicholson's call sign is right here. And it was given over to Emmett Dunlap. Emmett Dunlap donated it to the radio club, and it moved over to the same building that the 224.12 was in. Later on, we got, more recently, we have included, of course, 145.16, which is linked to EBY down in Sulphur Mountain. And with that is a 420 East Link pair. In addition, we put in a microwave, channel 153, and that is what links both 79 downtown with Santa Ynez Peak. And that's a standalone link that does not go through the network, outside network, it's all standalone. And that's what carries the linking between 18 and 79. 152.93 is a narrowband voice repeater on both analog and P25 digital, which is the government digital form is P25. We have passive non-emitting antennas up there very quickly, 1090. is your automatic dependence service broadcasting aircraft identification system. I'd like to put a program on some night. Maybe Levi and I can do that. I'll show you how we track all the aircraft in the local area. There are two channels used, 1090 and 978. We don't have 978. We only have 1090. Automatic ship identification system here, which is a worldwide system, and you can track any ship in the harbor or in the channel or anywhere, as a matter of fact. We have the 121.5 emergency beacon receiver. The antenna's not up yet. The receiver is down right now, but we have other receivers in the local area. We have one downtown, one at UCSB, one at Lacumba Peak, and one on the island, which is not working. We hope to get back out there and work that. 121.5 is the standard worldwide emergency channel that we monitor. In addition to that, the 406 megahertz is an ELT per PLB intercept receiver, which is at Santa Ynez Peak. Whenever anybody sets off a PLB or an EPIRB or an ELT, we get email notification of it. That's just a brief summary. And we'll give you more about that maybe in another podcast, who knows. Going back to the peak, when the Forest Service decided to put up the tower, this is the overpass right here at Full Field Road, and the tractor trailer came in and he had everything mounted on the back there, but that trailer was too small, too big rather, to get up the tight turns.
Oh, wow.
So he had to park there for a while they came in with a short bed and put it on a rental truck, and you can see it here in the fog up at the peak, and all that whole 100-foot tower, all in pieces, was on the back of that truck. I'll go back for a second. If you'll notice something right here, the legs here are solid. They're not hollow. And that's what supports the tower, 100 feet high. This here is the concrete mounting for the three legs. And it took time to get those in. But let me tell you something about this mounting right here. It's 18 inches wide for each leg, and there are 6 bolts holding down each leg. It's triangular shaped tower. And I'm trying to describe this so Dennis gets the big picture of what we're talking about.
Thanks, Bill.
That round, what do you call it, a footing, believe it or not, only goes down 3 feet. We're going to say, well, how the hell do you take and put a 100-foot tower up with only 3 foot of footing? Gee, in my backyard for my tower, I at least got 5 feet. That's only got 3 feet, but I'm going to show you how they did that. Very interesting. Okay, support a 100-foot tower. It's a sloping tower, commercial grade radio tower. Each concrete footing is 18 inches wide and only 3 foot deep. But here's how they do it. First of all, you dig a hole. And there's the first hole that was dug up there on the way down to put in the footing. Now you dig a bigger hole. And the big hole is a square hole with roughly about 35, maybe 35 feet on the side. And it's a square hole, only going 4 foot deep. The ground is uneven here, so some parts will be 5 feet, other parts will be 4 feet, but basically a 4 foot deep hole. And then you take and dig all the dirt out, and then you tamp it down with one of these mechanical tampers, and you smooth the dirt out. So you got a nice square big hole, about 35 foot on the side. And then you put rebar in it, 1 course of rebar all throughout the bottom. And then on top of that, you add a 2nd course of rebar. And there's the 2nd course of rebar there, or on top of that, and including rebar for the 3 legs. Well, there it is right there. So that's why we say that the legs only go down 3 feet. But look what they're setting on. They're setting on a massive amount of concrete. So that's how you get away with only 3 foot down. And as a matter of fact, the 35 foot on a side, again, only goes down 4 feet. But look at the area you got. Next, after that, you put these paper sonotubes around the, what do you call it, the rebar. And you got the bolts setting in place, and you get those positioned. And then you pump in the concrete on the bottom. And you'll find a hole right here on the top of the, what they call a sonotube. Again, the sonotube is only 36 inches high. Then you pump concrete on all over the rebar and into the holes on the hole on top of the sonotube. And these are concrete testing. And Wayne, how do they use these little concrete testers?
They do just compressive testing to make sure it meets a spec for compression after so many days.
Okay, and how do they do that again?
I mean, it'll just go in like an Instron kind of machine, I believe.
Okay, all right, so these are the cans that are waiting to be used, I guess. Okay, this is the finishing off here of the top where you can see the 6 bolts for each leg. And then they take the sonotube off and you just strip it off with a knife. And there it is right there with the concrete deck and the concrete 3-foot leg that attaches to the tower. Now you'll notice a whole bunch of wire going around all over the place. And this is a grounding mechanism called a ring ground that goes around every tower that's up there, or any new tower. Maybe some of the older towers don't have it. You'll notice that it's not a copper color. It is a tin coating. And the reason is to keep people from stealing it. They think it's maybe aluminum and they don't want that. But they want the copper. So they tin plate it. At least that's what I'm told for that reason. And you never put a grounding rod or anything through concrete. Never, ever do that. I've seen it done. If lightning hits it, it'll blow the whole concrete to pieces. So you always put it on the outside. And then you have test points around the tower with like little manholes, little small things about 4 inches across. And you can go down and make attachment to it. And you can do a continuity check to find out what the transmissivity is between the copper and the ground. And they do that as a meg ohm with a meg ohm checker. And I guess a high pot thing. Okay, next thing is, how long does it take a crew to put up a 100-foot tower? How many days does it take to put up a 100-foot tower?
Wow.
How long?
Week.
Well, take your best guess. And as to how long it takes, 3 days, 4 days, a week, month, whatever. Well, if I told you it takes only 1 day, would you believe it?
No.
If you got a tower all in pieces on the ground, how the hell do you do that? It's all on a flatbed truck. Well, here's how you do it. You take and put, each tower section is 20 foot long, and you got 5-foot sections, so that makes 100 feet. And don't forget, it's sloped. So you take the vertical sections, 3 to a side, and you assemble 2 on the ground, and then you put the lattice work between them. And you'll notice that there is a forklift holding the top section here. Now this is all horizontal. So you got the forklift keeping that top one in place while they put the bolts through it. Then you take each 20-foot section, and before you do that, you got to get the first section of the tower up. And this is how they do it. They take a forklift, and that first 20-foot single, what should I call it, leg, 1 on each side, and that's 3 sides, is put up this way. And you'll notice the forklift up there holding each leg, or 1 leg at a time. Then they bolt it down. Then you take and mechanically put the lattice work between the legs here, and the forklift helps them up with the heavy metal. That only goes up to 20 feet. After that, they're on their own. They start up. And the way they do that is to lift the 20-foot section that was on the ground by a crane, and they lift it up and plank it on top. Then you go to the next section. So you go all the way up to 100 feet, and you plank it down. Takes 1 day. I couldn't believe it. When I saw it, I said, it won't happen. It did happen. Anyway, then after that, of course, you're mounting antennas to go on the tower. Meanwhile, this is the old tower right here. And that's the original tower that was put up, I don't know when. Maybe Joe remembers. I think the building here was put up in about 48. And I'm not so sure when the tower went up. It was probably around then. Bruce Gordon showed up to put the club's antennas on right here, the 220 antenna here and the 220 antenna, putting them on a mast on the ground. And he was getting prepared for that. And you'll see a long tube over here. That long paper tube on the ground is the Civil Air Patrol antenna, and that is 22 feet long. And we were going to put that up also. Then Andy showed up along with Bruce, and they held the line, and everything is stable at that point. In the background here, you have the county tower, another county tower here, and a GT tower right here. Okay, now this is the antennas going up all the way up to 100 feet. So you'll notice on a sloping tower, you can't attach the antenna to the slope, because in all the antennas, especially beams and folded dipoles, would be pointing upward. Well, you don't want that. So you have to put each antenna on a mast, because the slope is about, what is it, Wayne? 4 or 5 degrees, something like that.
Yeah.
And you put that on a mast, and then you have to attach the mast to the tower so that the antennas are straight. Now, verticals, if they're done right, you can kind of move them over by hand. But on a beam or a folded dipole or a dipole, you have to have a mast. So they put up all the antennas first, and they start dragging the cables right straight up through the top. That had to be done by a contractor. However, in this case, I believe this was the contractor right here. And I'll go on and show you how our guys got involved. There's a good showing right here between the 100-foot tower right here and the old Forest Service tower over here. So they're installing all the antennas, and of course the pick of the crop goes to the top, and that would be maybe about 150 feet between the building and the top of the tower. So all the Forest Service antennas are here, and then the county antennas are here. You'll notice that there are probably fewer antennas than there are systems in the building. Well, the reason is they use combiners, and they use one transmit antenna, one antenna for transmit, and another antenna for receive. So that means with combiners and preamps and other, how should I say, electronics, you can get these things to work together separately. And but there are a lot of losses in doing it that way. And that's one of the issues. They don't worry about the losses because of the preamps they have and so forth. And I'll explain a little bit more about that and all the trouble we had. Well, the forest, because I had attended all the meetings that the forest ever had on the tower. So I bargained for and got from the 20-foot section here all the way up to the 40-foot section right here. But we got the west side of the tower facing away from Santa Barbara. Well, I'm not going to argue. I mean, it's space that I would not normally get, but that's what we got. That whole 20-foot leg was ours, but we ran into trouble, and I'll explain it later. Meanwhile, they run cables up here, and they cross over on the inside. They do a cutover to the new antennas. I decided to climb the old tower to get our 220 antenna off, and it was all frozen up there. So when I climbed up, I found out that our coax was intermingled with all these other coaxes. Well, I wasn't going to let them have the coax. So I had a hacksaw with me, and I hacksawed off the coax, and Steve Nelson was at the bottom, and he pulled the coax back. So we recovered the coax. Normally I would not do that. I don't like reusing coax, but you never know, somebody else could use it. So came down off of that, and let's see. This right here is a demolition of the original FM tower that was at Santa Ynez Peak. The dipoles were located all around. It was all around the mast here. It was all homemade and with ceramic insulators on it. And I was told that it was for an FM station, but I don't know. I don't know. They could have meant public safety FM for all I know. Search and rescue went up there with what they call a bill jacks. And this is search and rescue on the end of a bill jacks. And they're gonna cut this pipe down little by little. And watch how they did it. Amazing. This is your bill jacks here. If you go down to Giffen Rental, you can rent one of these. And look at the arms that stick out of the base right here. And then and this is on a slope on both sides. And then you set it up and you have a self-powered mechanism which runs the electric part and also the hydraulics for putting the tower up. And so search and rescue went up, and little by little he cut the tower down. And those pieces are heavy. And I thought he was going to topple the whole thing, but he didn't. So he cut them down little by little. And here you can see some of the dipoles with the ceramic elements here to the mast. Somebody had climbed that at one time because here's the little steps going up. In any case, here's your bill jack here, all folded up, and it can be towed by a SUV, and it rents for about $200 a day. So while they were there, I said, well, can you guys help us take down the 145/18 antenna? And they said, sure. So they backed the bill jacks in there and set it all up. This right here is the antenna on the bottom right here, is a 22-foot Civil Air Patrol antenna, which we're going to put up on this little mast right here where the 145/18 antenna is, because we got now a new position for our antenna on the Forest Service tower, and I don't need it over here. Okay, they take the 145/18 antenna, put it on the ground, we get rid of that. They position a guy on top of the mast, and he just sits on that 4-foot tube, waiting for the next antenna to come in. And they put the Civil Air Patrol mast right there, and 2 guys worked it. Didn't take them very long. And on the bottom of the ground right here, you'll see the sections to the old mast that was left over on this side. These masts were located all around the peak, and the Forest Service wanted them all cut down. But the one that was over there, search and rescue managed to talk them out of it, but they have to cut off all the guy wires from every vertical structure, including the one I'm pointing at right here. You see the guy wires there? All of those have to come off, as well as any mast that was considered as not being functional or unused. Here they are putting up our antennas are right here. You'll notice they're on the west side of the tower. So when we started transmitting, nobody could hear us in Santa Barbara because the back side of the beam would have to go right straight through the tower, and it just tore hell out of the signal. So we were discovering that we also had a lot of noise from all the other systems on the tower, and it was driving us nuts. And for at least a year or two, we were here with the 2 meters on top and the 220 on the bottom here, and it was not very good. Well, we decided to do a few things. I'll have to cut that.
Anybody awake in Santa Barbara? Kilo 9, Kilo Bravo X-ray. Tracy for South Dakota.
Okay, this right here is the main Forest Service tower right here, and it's still up. I'm sorry, Wayne.
Still be in the meeting.
Let me get this.
Talking earlier.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Mr. Talanian.
Yeah, I have to get off with you right now. Hang on, I'll see if I can. Can you call back in about an hour?
I don't do Zoom.
Oh, well, maybe I'll try calling tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm back on. So I guess this is the main Forest Service tower right here with the old tower right here. So the old tower has to come down. Well, how do you take the tower down? I don't know. I was a Marine. I'd blow it up, let it all collapse on the ground. You can't do that these days. So you bring up one of Specialty's cranes out of Santa Barbara, and look at this, a little with not much wheelbase, and he's going to put that crane up, and he's going to take that tower down. I don't know how he's going to do it. And you see a guy here climbing that old tower, and he's going to go all the way up to the top of 120 feet and attach the boom. Well, let's see what happens. Come to find out, they put the beam up, the crane up here, and it was too short. Well, you have to get above the tower in order to lift the tower. Well, it was too short. So he had to go back to Santa Barbara and get another crane. Well, the guy went up to the top and he sat there for 4 hours while the guy went back and got another crane. And here's the other crane that just pulled in, and he's going to put his boom all the way up to the top. Well, this is what they do. They put 2 extensions on the present one that they carry with them, and they stretch it out on the ground. Then they extend the whole thing out, and then they pump it up all the way to the top. Now remember that he has to grab the top of the tower with straps. So what they do is they grab the top of the straps here, and there's one guy at the top, and he attaches it. And then they have to release the guy wires that go to the top. So you'll see the guy wires here coming off in a triangular position. And then they have to release those from the ground. So the only thing that's holding them is the crane and the bolts that are down here at the 40-foot section, which is right about here. So they're going to lift 2 sections at a time. So he gets it attached, then he goes down, climbs down, as you can see here, to the 40-foot level, and he'll release the bolts right there. The guy wires are already released, and the crane will just pick it up gently, picks it up like that, and then he lowers it to the ground where we are, which is right here. Then he goes back up. There it is right there, the guy putting it on the ground, laying it on the ground horizontally. Then he goes back up and gets the second section, which is 2 40-foot sections. They attach the straps. They go to the bolts. They bring it, take it down. And here's the last section right here. They have to, let's see. Yeah, there were 2 guys up there on this one, but there's a guy at the bottom here because he's got to loosen it up from the ground. So he's down the bottom, he takes the bolts up, and they take that section off and they lower it. But by the way, you can see the guys are attached right here. They cut them off at the base, way off in the field, and they just flop to the ground. Okay, now here's a picture, the first picture of the building without the tower, and the concrete base they jackhammer out so nobody else can attach anything to it. And here's the new tower on the day that it was fully up and operational and with the old tower gone. The tower remnants, 120 feet, were put on the ground. I had made application to the Forest Service for months ahead that I would like to grab the tower and donate it to amateur radio. They said, no, the contractor has charge of it. He's going to take the tower, so stay away from it. Okay, fine. I forgot about it. 2 days prior to the tower coming down, I got a call from the Forest Service. Bill, you can have the tower if you come and get it, but you have to get it out of there. You can't leave any pieces laying around. Well, I didn't know what to do because nobody in Santa Barbara wanted it, so I called Emmett Dunlap down in Thousand Oaks, and he went up on a Saturday and grabbed for 3 sections, and all the antennas that were taken down were put in a pile. I gathered all of those up because these were all reusable, and some of them were very broadband that could be used on amateur radio. Well, Emmett had to make 2 trips up on one Saturday, and then the next Saturday I called Forest. They didn't have a problem, so he grabbed 6, I think it was 6 sections of tower, whatever it was. Anyway, the tower is out of there. Now we're going to fast forward. By the way, I wish that Wayne were around for all of this. The only guy that was there with me all the time was Steve Nelson, who did a great job just handling things on the ground and also inside the room. But I want to show you some pictures here of what happened after everything was up. And Wayne was finally got his amateur license, and he happened on the scene. He and I went up to the top of the peak, and we found an antenna on the ground, or a mast. And this was the old Civil Air Patrol antenna. And it collapsed. And you can see the antenna had driven right into the ground. So we said, well, it's got to be sabotage, because look at this. This is a bolt sticking out from one of the verticals here. And the bolt was pulled out. Now, this was the mast that Bruce Gordon had put up probably 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, I don't know. And it was all on the ground. Well, I went back to some old photographs, and look what I found. I went back a couple of years, and I found indeed that bolt had made its way out of the three pieces that are tied together here. The nut had backed off, and I found several photos where the bolt had backed out over time and the mast had collapsed. And there it is right there. So we took all the antennas off, Wayne and I, in one day, and we scrapped everything. And then we were trying to decide what to do with it. And the forest called up and said, you can't leave the pole in that position, the mast. You have to either get it up or take it down. So it was a mad scramble to get it back up. So Wayne developed the system for getting it back up. He did not like the way Bruce had originally done it, because we had used a vehicle to lower it. In other words, tying a line to it. And it was a little bit dangerous. So Wayne developed his own method. And so Bill Theringer came along, and Wayne did it through a, what do you call it? A come along tool with a rope through it right here. Wayne, do you recognize this guy right here? I don't know who that is. I don't know. Anyway, he was there. Who is it?
Mike Wapner, K6QD.
Oh, I didn't recognize him with a beard. Oh my gosh. Never would have known. Anyway, there's 4 cables that go to it. And so Wayne got it back up for us. Then we decided that we were going to use that and relocate the 145/18 antenna and get it away from the Forest Service tower. The reason being that the Forest Service tower generates a lot of noise. It was getting into our system. Now, I have to mention that amateur radio always operates at the highest sensitivity it can, because we use single sites with one receiver. The forest don't care because it has several sites. And they do this by way of voting, and they can use several antennas, several transmitters on one transmit antenna and one receive antenna. They don't need the sensitivity because they have several sites working for them. But they generate a lot of noise. So what we did was we got another 145/18 antenna and put it right here. And this is the phasing element right here between the 2 antennas. Well, why do we need a phasing antenna? Well, if you're going to go down tilt, you cannot do it with one antenna. You have to use at least 2 or more antennas that are phased with each other to get electrical down tilt. It's either that or you face the antenna downward, but you don't want to do that because the backside goes up when the front goes down. So you electrically down tilt it here with what they call this feed section right here. And these are measured lengths of different impedance coaxes to get you down tilt. So this is what you're transmitting on right here when you're on the 145/18 antenna. And this is how it attaches to the mast. We cleaned up the mast, we cleaned up everything, and we got to use it. And we attached the phasing element right here with standoffs. And then the antenna went up this way, almost to the vertical structure here as Wayne cranks it up with his come along tool and the rope. So that's where you are. You're right here in the middle of the field. You're at least 100 feet away from the main tower and away from all the noise. So that was the purpose for getting it there. Now here's a good picture of the antenna as it faces Santa Barbara. And if you can picture 8 degrees down tilt with the 2 antennas, it would just about hit Santa Barbara. And that is 17 miles away. Well, that's not too bad. It's not quite handy-talkie coverage. And you can see the airport right here and Goleta right here. But it's good base station coverage for sure, good mobile coverage, and maybe spotty for handheld coverage. This is the original mast right here, and Search and Rescue decided to put one of its dishes on there, and that is pointed towards Figueroa Mountain. And we'll show you what we did with that. Then we took the 145/16 antenna and put in on the top here. So we got completely away from the Forest Service tower by at least 150 feet and got rid of the noise issue. We had another co-channel interference that Michael Taylor helped find, which had been plaguing us for years, for at least 20 years. And he with a spectrum analyzer, pinpointed the channel, but we didn't know where it was. And it was a big mystery until we worked for a long time to find out who was the instigator of that. As it turned out, it was a paging company with no filter on its transmitter, which is why we were getting slammed. Well, here's the finished building, sort of right here, an older photograph from 1917. Here's the front of the building, and here's our 5.8 dish up there, right here, going to downtown. Here's our, 1090 antenna for the ADSB. And this antenna here belongs to the National Park Service. Whenever you enter one of these buildings, we always tell people, check for snakes. And why do we say that? Well, here's one right here. This was found in our building. And I got there about 15 minutes after the Forest Service guy killed it. And you have to be careful. I have a dozen pictures of rattlers that are in and around equipment. And I'm always afraid that somebody's going to get bitten because they hide underneath the equipment. So I say, keep the helicopter pad clear. And I dutifully go around it every year and cut down all the weeds and trash. Because if you got a snake bite or if you fell off a tower up there, and this includes at least 5 of our sites, it would take at least 2 hours to get an ambulance up to you and another 2 hours to get you back. You may be dead by that time. We have to put our faith in the helicopter to come and rescue us. And this is not just the 206 here. I have landed at this location 3 times in a helicopter. And the last time was with the sheriff here in the 206. Since then, the weeds have been cut back again, and it's now clear today because the county now has a black car coming, and it has 19 inches on a wheelbase. So you need all of this space to land a helicopter. So that is our job. And oddly enough, the forest doesn't always do a good job of that. And you can't go up there with any machinery, so you have to do it by hand. Tough job. And I don't get volunteers for this, believe me. So I end up going up in the morning when it's cool, and I chop a few bushes, and then get out of there. I'm going to go back to the inside of the building right here. Here's your cables. Each one of them must go through a polyphasic lightning arrestor right here. And on the outside, your antennas is grounded at the top, it's grounded at the base, and it's grounded before it comes into the building and after it comes into the building. So this is what protects you. We found that out this past year when lightning hit La Cumbre Peak. And one of the polyphases actually was toast. This right here is the Park Service, which we help maintain that system there. And this is the nonprofit channel right here. And let's see, we'll skip around a bit. This is the 145/16 transmitter with Civil Air Patrol here on the top and so forth. And this is what we call the area service net, which is the business band repeater. This is the back of the equipment rack for both Civil Air Patrol, amateur radio, search and rescue is right here. And this is all Red Cross equipment here. So essentially, amateur radio takes care of Park Service, American Red Cross, Civil Air Patrol, search and rescue, and who am I leaving out? I'm leaving out somebody. And a couple more that are in the building. And Matt here does most of our programming, or maybe all of it, because we haven't got people within our club that know how to program a control system. So we're still trusting Matt. He has to come all the way from Oxnard to do that. I see no reason for this. I can't understand with all the computer-minded people going to DMR and computer people at UCSB, we don't have people. In the last 40 years, we haven't had but a handful of people that ever even tried to program one of these amateur radio control systems. The reason is you have to understand radio, you have to understand audio, you have to understand communications. People come into it thinking it's another computer. It's not. But it is like programming. So Matt keeps pretty good records, and that's his job. And we only get him like about once a month to come up. And this is our rack right here. This is the 220 right here, and the 2 meters duplexer right here, the 220 duplexer up here. And we have 2 brand new tapes. This is a brand new tape, TAIT, made in New Zealand. It's an absolutely beautiful 220 radio. Was given to us free, and also the one on the island. So we have 2 brand new ones from Andy Siebold. Came right out of New Zealand, direct to us. And that is our whole rack right there. This is the front of the rack right here. And alongside the Civil Air Patrol and Search and Rescue. And now we're gonna just skip to Wayne here for a couple of photographs. Wayne has been a godsend to us to doing what he does in the way that he does it, along with Jonah Blossom, who has come into us from Search and Rescue. And again, we have the 20-foot section here, all the way up to here. That is where we put all of our antennas. And we have more to go up here for linking antennas and so forth. So we had just done this job here, moving the Civil Air Patrol antenna over to this spot right here, because they were asked to leave this mast. And so we decided to put them here, and this was only a couple of weeks back. And now the Civil Air Patrol came in and said, can you extend it out another 3 feet? So we have more work up there. So Wayne, we thank you for all your diligent work that you've done up there. Here's Jim Everson handing up the Civil Air Patrol antenna to Wayne up on top. And the way you bring it up is through the clamps, not over the clamps. You maintain control. Okay, that's the last and final, almost last and final picture of Wayne putting up the Civil Air Patrol mast. Well, I like to say that we in our group, which is very small, and there are very few people that have the ability to climb. They have to be a natural at it. You just can't come up there and just say, I can climb towers. No, we won't accept that. You have to be a natural. You have to use all the safety in going up. I learned my climbing in the Marine Corps and climbing wooden poles with a leather strap, and that's still what I use. But I'm not about to keep using it when I got people like Wayne and Jonah and others from Search and Rescue that'll help out. So I like to say that we go out on a limb to keep you on the air. And this is the reason why. There's Wayne out on the yardarm at Santa Ynez Valley, putting up one of the antennas. Now you folks try to do that for a living. Thank you, Wayne, appreciate it. And that is all. And as Looney Tunes, you can put on Looney Tunes here, Brian, and then we'll just say, we'll go out on a limb for the rest of you. And thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Hey, Bill, I have a compliment for you. I want to share a screen of one thing that you did, but I can't do it right now because I'm not a shared screen off. But you and I had done a couple things in 2018. Are those antennas still up on the building? Did you want to see those photos?
Which low band at? Which low band?
The one on the side of the building up there.
Oh, at the top of the peak, or?
Yeah. Whoa, what was that?
Well, okay. Well, just get with me. We've made a lot of, since you've been out for the count, we've made a lot of advances. So just get with me and, we can do that.
All right.
Bill, will you start your video? I think you have to hit start video. We just see your blank screen now. Not the screen share, just your video camera.
Down at the bottom, Bill.
What do I do? Share?
No, start video, it should say.
Oh, start. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I'll get it.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. There's.
That was.
Hi, Michael.
Thank you, Bill. That was
quite
enjoyable.
amazing, Bill.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I want to stress again that the old days of climbing have gone away, and the new way is probably a lot better, a lot safer. But all the work that was done in the past was done by people like myself and others. I'm not the only one in this crew. There are many others, but they come and they go. But we like to have people that stick around for a while that we can count on. And I can tell you in 5 minutes when a guy climbs a tower, whether he's a natural at it. And Jonah was one of these guys. He came out of search and rescue, and I saw him up there for 5-10 minutes. I said, the guy's a winner. I got to have him. And he has his hand license. So he helps out quite a bit.
Yeah, and he's like 20 years younger than me, which helps.
Yeah.
So after 4 hours in a tower when it's like 35 degrees and raining, he's
And
the one
I'm
that has
older
to
than you
finish.
are, so at 88, I think I want to retire from it. But I did a lot of crazy things too.
So the Bill, the Park Service, was this before or after you had to paint everything gray or green or whatever?
Oh, the Forest Service?
Yeah, didn't you have to paint everything up there? Or?
No. All the microwave sites around the United States are traditionally white. And I'm not so sure why, maybe. But on Park Service land today, you cannot have a white dish. It must be painted either green or gray, green or blue. And it's a specific shade of green and a specific shade of blue in accordance with a federal specification. So we have to get up there and paint our radomes. Now, they have been on our case a little bit because companies have to spend a lot of money to get a guy over the side and repaint the radomes. And they do that because they apparently, the people, the bird trackers, think that maybe the birds fly into them at nighttime. So at Santa Ynez Peak, we have no lighting on any of the towers. There is on Broadcast Peak, but not on Santa Ynez Peak. There's not a tower up there with a light. However, it also states in the Forest Service rules that you can have a doorway light. So if you look up at Santa Ynez Peak at night, or if you look on the HPWREN camera, you will see a light up there. Well, that happens to be a doorway light in the GTE building, but you're not allowed to have a light on a tower. I don't know if that helps explain the strange thing about birds and towers and microwave dishes and all of the, what do you call them, guy wires. And that's why they have taken them down. I don't know, the bird people seem to think they fly into them. And of course, the condor sanctuary is only 35 miles away. So, but I've never seen a condor up there.
How do you paint the radomes? They stick out like that.
Yeah, you put a guy over the side, you put him on top of it, and he has to rappel over the side of it because that's a very soft plastic. Now,
Yeah,
the
then you
people
use
that,
a long handled paintbrush.
yeah, then you do it with a paintbrush, right? And
With-
then you
with a
have
long-
bird spikes all the way around every antenna, and Michael can tell you all about that. You can see it right here, I think. Maybe see bird spikes on the top right here. You have to put them all around the tower here. And what happens is you put them on with epoxy so the birds don't settle on it. But then the epoxy wears off and all the spike strips are on the ground.
And then you
What
run
are you going
over
to do with them? So I picked up a few. I brought them over to the house, and there's a place where the raccoons can jump onto my roof, and I put them on my roof. No more raccoons. There's good use for the ones that are on the ground. So that's the new way, and it's not only here, it's all around every Forest Service site around the country.
So has other people sprayed their radomes up there?
No, only a few, because each company, each person with a radome has to pay their guy to come up. There isn't one guy that comes up, and you'll always meet a guy that'll say to you after he's done it, well, if I'd have known you needed it, I would have come over and done yours for a price too while I'm up there. But you always find out these things after. So we are amiss. We do have to get up. And I went down the other day and I found some paint, a light blue to paint one of the antennas. So not to draw attention to ourselves, but that's the way it is. I may not be spec. What was that, Brian?
Stuart had a question here, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, basically a couple different questions, but one of them, what do they do since the FAA has a conflicting interest in wanting to have a light on the top of towers so planes don't?
Well, yes, there's a yes and no answer there. There's what they call a minimum en route altitude, and if you're reading the charts and you're reading them correctly, you should not be at that altitude ever. And of course, everything is directed flight these days and so forth. They still use them on towers that go up to 2,000 feet and 1,000 feet that are broadcast towers for TV. I see them on the way to Sacramento all the time. I don't know, Levi, you know, there's a couple of towers over there at least 1,500 feet high.
I think they're 2,000. Yeah.
Yeah, 2,000 is right. And we're always make sure that I always look out for those. But they have strobes and red lights on those, but not the ones at Santa Ynez Peak. And you have to go back to the rules. And I believe it is on the charts as a minimum altitude that you're supposed to be at that area.
I mean, the Forest Service wanted to turn off the lights at broadcast peak, but the KUIT guy that there said, you know, do you want to be responsible for a plane runs into it? Because they've been used to seeing those lights for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
So they may not be required by modern specs, but people are so used to them, the Forest Service allowed them to keep them lit up there.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, I from what I understand, the rule is generally 200 feet AGL above ground level, but then there's different specifications about, you know, average terrain around it and whatnot. But Bill, also, would it be that they allow you to have, they just don't want people putting spotlights up on those towers either, like just random?
No, because I put one up one time to actually test the system. And I put one up just on the outside of the building. And I came up about a week later and it was torn out. Yeah. So somebody from the forest came, I shouldn't even say that I did such a thing, but I wanted to run a test to see what I could see from the island and see if I could see it. Mm-hmm. And I just put a light bulb out there that was only on during night. But somebody saw that there was a light outside the building and rip it off. Don't belong there. Yeah.
I was flying across Texas one time with my son, and we were passing 2,000-foot towers that had guy wires. So in addition to the tower, you had to be very careful not to fly below the level of the tower, so you'd run, and airplanes did, they hit the guy wires. So I don't know what they...
Yeah, there is a history of collapse of towers, and the one of the most notable ones is when people were taking up the transmitting antenna on a tower to put it on top, and they needed a clevis bolt, and they went down and they were missing one, and they bought it out of Home Depot, and the bolt, there was 3 guys riding it on the way up, and there were a couple of guys on the tower, and the bolt snapped, and the TV antenna came down, hit the guy wires, collapsed the whole tower. 5 guys got killed.
Yeah.
And the bolt is typically what you find when you go to Home Depot, made in China. And it's what we call butter bolts. They're not worth a damn. Don't ever buy anything out of Home Depot that has made in China if you're going to put any weight on it. So the best thing is you go down and get a specification bolt, a clevis bolt or whatever it happens to be. But you don't want to ever do that if you're in the business.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So where do you go over to specialty tool or something?
Yeah, that specialty has US made, but even there, you have to be careful. Always read the label.
Yeah, specialty bolts has aerospace quality, but some of it's kind of questionable.
Levi, I have a question for you. That piece of equipment above your amplifier there, whoop, I think Ken just fell over.
This thing here?
Yeah.
It's a Heathkit oscilloscope.
Yep.
Where'd that come from? Is that new?
Well, new to me. It's let me see if I can turn my camera here. Yeah, this is it's a station scope, an SB610, and it's a late 1960s vintage quasi oscilloscope. I wouldn't call it an oscilloscope. It has oscilloscope like properties, right, Ken?
Well, it's a monitor scope. I built one back in the 60s, and it's on my ham station right next to me here.
Same one?
It's not operating yet. But I use it as a transmitting, to monitor my outgoing transmissions on HF.
Yep.
So I can see the.
Is same one, Doc? SB610 or is different?
Yeah.
Model? Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. I bought this one online and just kind of restored it, recapped it, redid some indicator light needed to be replaced.
I built mine in 1960 or something, 65 or somewhere along in there, and I'm still using it.
You still have the same one you built. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're handy for just kind of seeing what your signal looks like, especially, HF where you can kind of get overdriven, whatnot. You
can see that it's a nice sine wave and not flat topping, and
yeah,
if you're over modulating or overdriving it.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's also it's great for a teletype signal. For monitoring teletype signal.
Yeah.
Well, any kind really. But gives you a good shape, and you can. And for CW, it'll show the classic style of the classic shape of a CW DIT or DA with a little bit of a click at the leading edge, and then tapering very rapidly toward the end. But if it's shaped just right, it doesn't have loud noises at the onset and end of each pulse. So it's there you go.
That's what it looks like when you use it.
Yeah.
Or when you talk into it. Yeah.
Now, what are you looking for when you're looking at that? Is that a good signal there?
Yeah, that one's fine. When I key up, the problem I'm chasing down now is when I key up on CW and I put down just a carrier, continuous wave carrier, the amp's pretty good on the low bands, but up at 10 and 20 meters, it doesn't quite look like a solid block. It's got some spurious stuff going on there, so I'm trying to track that down. I think there's some parasitic oscillations on VHF.
Huh. Interesting.
Yours is a later model. Mine does not have the square grid on it.
Oh, interesting.
Huh. I'll take a look, but I don't think it does.
I'm glad Doc had his pants on.
Yeah. Got scared there for a second.
No, I'm wrong. It does have
Here's the side I didn't want to see.
So you've got a mixture of classic vintage equipment and modern equipment.
Yeah, that's right. I've got my Kenwood, mid 2000s 2010 radio hooked up to my SB 200 1965 amplifier.
Now you need a little bit more of an HF radio there, something with one of those new ones. I thought you were going to get one of the ICOM.
I'm thinking of getting that IC 7300, but I'm gonna try out this IC 756 for a little bit, see how I like that, and maybe I'll get the 7300. Great radio at that price.
Yeah.
There's mine, Levi.
Oh, nice. Let me see and pull it up here. How do I? There we go. Oh yeah, yours has the grid, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I'd forgotten it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the designation at the bottom, 610.
Oh, okay.
But that's what it is.
Yep.
Oh, wait a minute. It's underneath the.
Yeah, it's underneath the word Heathkit.
Yep.
I think it does say it. Yeah. You're just so used to it, you don't see it anymore.
Yep.
Did you just take that picture, Doc?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to go, boy, that was handy. You had a picture right there. Now I looked at the time on it. It said 2051, and it's 2053 right now. So I figured that was the.
Oh, I didn't realize the time was on it. But yeah, I just took it. So, like.
Hey, Doc, you're going to be at.
I had to drag my video camera over there, and that was going to be pretty hard.
Doc, are you going to be at the station tomorrow?
Yeah, I think I'll probably stay outside, but I'll bring a chair.
Okay.
And donuts. Bring donuts.
Oh, I don't know if I can do that. That sounds like a breach of some kind of law.
No, just don't touch them. Just bring them. Don't breathe on them.
I don't think we can do
What a
that.
terrible way.
Now, what is I'm looking at KA6KEN's stuff here. Looks like he's got some vintage stuff there too. You got a Heathkit there? Oh, what are you doing, Ken?
I've been trying to get this picture to show to Bill of Santa Ynez Peak with snow and ice all over it.
That's
And
an
I bumped into these old
SB500 behind
pictures of
him.
me up on the tower from 2000, literally 20 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was that's an SB500, isn't it? Or a 500 watt amplifier, SB200.
Here's some ice.
Classic vintage equipment, modern equipment. Yeah, that's right.
Someone's got the YouTube.
Oh my God, yeah. That's a nice picture.
Who's got YouTube going here?
Nobody anymore.
Okay, guess we shut
Doc
it
was
off.
asking what amplifier is behind Ken's desk, and that's the SB220, right, Ken? That was Dennis.
No, it's an SB200, isn't it?
No, mine's the 200. His is the.
That's
200.
Yeah.
That's the two. Guy, is there a way to flip the camera so you can use the regular camera and you're not all backwards?
Yes.
How do I do that?
I built an
iPhone.
SB200 and a 220 as well.
Hey,
I had the
Ken?
whole station, SB301, SB401, couple of monitor scope, and a spectrum analyzer, and the two amplifiers built. And I operated it for many years until everything started to go digital DSP. Then I had to move with the times.
Well, maybe when this virus becomes more manageable, you can help me with mine, because I'm having trouble with a couple things with my SB200.
Okay, I think if I got rid of them, I also probably gave the person the manual, so I'm not sure I have that anymore.
I have the manual. Can you go to, let's see how you do it. You up in the top left, there's a little camera with a recycle symbol on it. Click that.
I already got it. I got it, Levi. Thanks.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm just trying to figure out how I can see my own picture instead of it being all smashed in the corner where I can't see what I'm doing. No matter what I do. Anyway, that's an SB220.
Yeah, that's a 220 because it's
That-
smaller. The SB200
That's
is.
That's my Kenwood TS820S that I've used since I was a kid. And that's my recent acquisition. That's the FT1000 MP Mark V. And then this is my latest acquisition right here. Let's see if I can. That's that's an Alpha 78 amplifier.
Is that the one we picked up?
Yep, in San Diego. And then this is what I'm fixing for like one of the guys at Larry's Auto Parts right now. We run to the other end of the house. Where is it? This is this kitchen table, by the way. So that's what I'm fixing right now. Where is it? There it is. A Yaesu FT757GX. That's the main board. That's the low pass filter board with all the relays and inductors on it. And then that is actually a fan that you can lubricate, believe it or not. And the PA board, which has a bad driver, a bad 8-volt supply, and a bad, can't remember what that transistor is used for. Anyway, 3 bad transistors. 2 bad transistors and a bad 8-volt DC power supply. So far, that's how far I've gotten into it. I've actually got it out now.
Well, you ought to have that.
So, there's your
for
form.
midnight.
Having problems finding one of the transistors. Oh, the switching transistor. That's right.
Did you lose it, or you're having trouble finding one?
It's hard to find. They don't make them anymore. They're just really rare.
Is that the switching one? Is that an alternative gender transistor? Is that what?
Yeah, I think I found NT. Turns out they make one that looks like it'll replace it. So it's like $15, which was kind of discouraging. The other ones are 98 cents each.
Big difference.
Yeah. And this guy, he doesn't want to spend much money to fix it, so I'm trying to do it on the cheap.
Are you charging him labor?
Yeah, I'll charge him a couple hours. What's that, Joe?
In the early 60s, I spent a lot of time on Santa Ynez Peak. It sure has changed.
You know, there used to be telephone poles all over it, and I was trying to find a picture of that, and I'm trying to find a picture of the snow, and I'm
Oh yeah,
I'm not doing a good job here.
Yeah, I got a lot of pictures of snow up there, and Wayne even had some in the background of his pictures here, and those poles are still where they cut them off. I think are still protruding out of the ground.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Hey, look at this. So I can't get the picture uploaded. This is not what I was looking for, but you recognize that tower, Bill?
No.
It's the one you just showed us, wasn't it, Bill?
No, this is John Franklin's tower.
Oh.
And that's, yeah, I can't, I'd have to get it onto the phone, but that's me when I was in my late 20s up there on about halfway up his tower.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, we were recently been taking antennas off of that tower as the amateur people get kind of kicked out of his building.
Oh, is that happening now?
Yes, there's consolidation going on and stuff. So yeah, we pulled a bunch of cables and antennas off that tower.
I have another fun one for Bill. Let's see how fast I can find it here. There, you recognize him, Bill? Can you guys see that, or is it blurry? It's probably not focusing, huh?
No, we can see it.
Who is that again?
Oh, great. Jim.
Shea.
On it.
Jim Shea?
Yes, Jim Shea.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was taken in
He was the last of the old-time climbers.
There he is. He's not real high up, but still, that's his truck down there. That was taken.
And he had a pacemaker when he was 90 years old, and he was still climbing.
Yeah, well, this was in 2000, Bill. He was, I think, in his late 70s or early 80s here.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, if he can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
And he climbed all the way out. You can't really tell. This doesn't do it justice, but he mounted an antenna for me 4 feet out on a like a cantilevered 2-inch pipe, and he got all the way out of the end of that pipe and stuck that antenna out there. It was crazy to watch this guy work. He took very little precautions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, everybody, it's a little after 9. Bill, thank you once again for your presentation. You got any other ones there? And
I'd like to do one. I don't know how Levi feels about it. Might be a little bit too esoteric, but I'd like to do one ADSB where we actually show people how to track airplanes and how to track ships.
Sure.
What do you think, Levi? Between you and me going back and forth, because we got AIS and we got ADSB. People don't know how to use it, or they're not using it, but outside people use it. But some of our own people may not understand how it works. I love ADSB the way it works.
Yeah.
Plain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you can still do marine tracking and aircraft tracking online.
Yeah, but it ain't as good as ours.
Yeah. I could show you guys what I do for the, to analyze the traffic for the whale people.
Mm-hmm.
How that all works.
Yeah. And I've got, there you go. And
not much out there today.
There's a lot of training activity,
it.
a lot of training activity, but
there you go.
Not much.
I've got that on my telephone, on an app on my phone.
Well, we'll tell you all about the differences between what you can get commercially and why what the radio club provides is even better than what some of the paid and commercial providers give you.
Well, I'm interested in this one.
Okay, well, we'll plan on doing that one coming up too. I can connect to my system downtown too and show you guys what all that ADSB stuff looks like when it's or not ADSB, AIS stuff looks like when it comes in, and then what it looks like when it's all crunched.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting. You can watch those things. Can't read a thing, but you can see a bunch of weird data coming in. Anyway, okay, well, we'll plan on that. So, Stuart, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a comment. Next week, I know that in past years, Santa Barbara Club has had, sometimes, shall we say, token operations for field day. Don't know if Santa Barbara Club's gonna be doing more operations this year than past. What we've been doing down in Ventura is setting up to have a bunch of individual stations and also having a 24-hour Zoom to take the place of the barbecues that normally go on other field days. So if you want, check in on the check into this. We'll be monitoring on the Bozo repeater, and then be able to make contacts then on any of the simplex frequencies. So I've sometimes made a lot of good simplex contacts from my place in Oxnard up to Santa Barbara and all up and down the coast. So that's a week away.
Hey, Stuart, if you want to send me that information by email, I'll put something on our website.
Will do. Plan on it.
Yeah, because I don't know how many people, people are, not everybody will know necessarily what the frequency of the Bozo repeater is and all of that. If you send me the information on what you guys are doing and how we can communicate with you or what you got going on, I will put a note on our website and on the front page there coming up for field day, and then everybody can see it.
Okay, since I'm a member of multiple clubs up and down the coast, and have good friends in all of them, so I figured might as well give it a shot. Talk to you
Okay.
later.
All right. That sounds good. Okay, let's see. Anybody have any last business for the meeting tonight?
Good job, Bill. WB6OBB.
Oh,
Harry's
thank you,
ice
Dennis.
cream is really good.
Yeah, it really was.
Thanks.
And I figured out voiceover does work on Zoom, so I can unmute the video or the audio and all that stuff, so it works real well.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think you're still in the dark, though. Let me see.
Oh, no, he's there.
I'm
Okay.
there somewhere. Is that
Oh,
better?
there's Joanne. All right.
Yep,
Okay.
you're
Oh, no,
fine.
there you are. All right.
Yeah.
I thought that was Ken.
Yeah.
He's
You guys
in
look
the
a lot
dark.
alike.
He's that thin?
Ken's camera moves all over the place all the time.
Well, I can do that and don't even know what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at your forehead, Dennis.
Oh, sorry. Is that better?
It's a fine forehead, Dennis.
Hey, Doc.
Yeah, there's a good whole picture of you.
There you go. Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting used to lining it up and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Ken bought my 220. That amplifier worked very well throughout the years. Worked 260 countries with it.
Wow. Well, okay, everybody. Remember, if you're out and about, come by the club station tomorrow and say hello. And, we'll Doc only brings 6 donuts, so you got to get there about the same time he does. They're gone real
I'm
quick.
telling you, I can't go buy donuts tomorrow.
Hey, Brian, I got something to say. I want to thank everybody listening to SwapNet last night. We actually sold 5 items, and 4 of them went to the club. So we had 4 items that went back to the club. So it was a great SwapNet last night.
Yeah, I saw the orders come in.
That's neat.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. 'Cause you were able to sell my mask too. That went.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, neat.
Yeah, it's nice when the SwapNet works. We haven't had much activity for the, in the club selling things, obviously, in the past 3 months. So Mike Petticord wasn't able to come in until last weekend. So he looked around. I think he'll be back. He's our single best customer for items in the shack. And he never seems to sell anything himself, so he must have a pretty good collection of things by now.
Well, if you did it like KCET does the Antique Roadshow, that ought to be interesting, right?
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, Bill, you could be one of those guys that looks at the stuff they bring in. You can go, oh, no, there's a piece of crap. Throw it away.
Yeah. This is
That's
classified
worth
radio
$1.95.
Yeah, it's worth $1.95.
Well, Brian, I'll be there tomorrow. I'm picking up 2 items, and I'm bringing 1 for Mike to set up and test my whole base station. So I'm going to get the Kenwood, and I'm going to get the power supply, and then I have a amplifier that I just picked up from DX Engineering. So I'm bringing it tomorrow.
Okay, somebody's going to look at that for you?
Mike?
QD is looking for him.
Hopefully Mike QD, I hope you'll be there in the morning.
Oh, down at the club station?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if you guys have already made arrangements, he doesn't come by very often.
Okay, well, I'll be there in the morning.
All right, sounds good. All right, everybody. Otherwise, have
everybody.
a good weekend. Happy Father's Day to
Yeah, I got
Happy-
something.
dads.
What, Ken?
You want to, Dennis? Here's your repeater. Check it out. I forgot.
Hey, looks pretty good.
That's the WB6 OBB. That's the replacement 2-meter repeater, and that's the UHF. That's the 440 down there.
All right.
Oh, and look, let me show you something else real quick. Well, I got you on video. You see that?
No.
Yeah.
Dennis can't see that, Ken.
Oh,
No,
shoot. I'm sorry. I totally forgot.
Yeah, I
Well,
see
I'm
it,
showing
Ken.
you. I'm showing you
Describe it.
5 more repeat. I'm showing you 5 more repeaters in boxes.
All right.
Hey,
Maybe
Ken,
put-
I'll be game for one repeater with my W0 JFB on it.
that can be arranged for a $5,000 donation.
We'll talk.
You can unmute it. You can.
We'll
Join
talk.
please.
Or a sewing
Yeah.
machine.
You got a sewing machine and a repeater.
Yeah, that's the embroidery machine to make the K6TZ logos, and that's the repeater. That's why they're in the same room.
Hmm.
And you need to do a little cleaning up.
Yeah, Ken.
Wow.
Oh, I'm just having fun. Just starting to have fun.
Did you do that?
Anyway,
You embroidered that?
Yeah. I think
no, I'm cheating. Actually, the one I embroidered, I'll show it to you. You saw it before.
Oh, that's the one with the down by your belly button?
Yeah.
That was my first one.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It's a
That
little.
was the first one. Yeah, the belly button one is the one that came out good.
It was like down, way down low.
Way down low.
Where's that one? I only have like 1% left, so I'm probably gonna lose you here in a second. But let's see if I can find it real quick.
Hey, wait, is this X-rated? Come on now.
No. Yeah, I can't find it. I don't know what it did with it.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. Just
All right.
unmute the audio.
Okay.
All I
Check
see
it
is
out
2
again.
fingers.
I hope
Okay,
those are
that-
fingers.
That don't look right.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost him.
I think we just got Zoom bombed.
He's gone.
He has badly
No,
done.
I'm here. It says my microphone's muted for some reason.
Oh, now
Yes.
you're back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's the,
You can unmute him.
sensors. Okay,
There
well,
goes Joe.
let's get out of here and go
Yeah.
home and
Yeah, let's go home.
Yeah, go home.
Traffic's not too bad tonight, so we should get home quickly.
yeah, I got a long drive ahead of me.
Just
Me too.
just have
There
to
it is.
come down off the snowy peak.
I better look around for my
Found it.
umbrella here. It's all right. Thanks everybody for coming, and we'll
Thanks, Brian.
probably
Levi.
be doing it again next month.
All right,
Cheers.
everybody.
Cheers,
All right.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay,
Cheers.
Father's Day.
Cheers.
Here's
Happy Father's
your
Day.
here's your